My name is Ben Gervasi, and today we're going to speak with Roshan Mashal. We're going to ask her about her life in Afghanistan, her experiences as a refugee, her work as a prominent women's rights activist, and her impact on North Texas. Mashal, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I think the best way that we can start out with this interview is, when and where were you born?
I born in Kabul city, the capital of Afghanistan, and it was 50 years ago.
And this was before the Taliban had formulated in the 90s and came to power. So how was your upbringing during that time?
I was in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over for the first time. And I was teaching girls in hiding in my home. But when they awared from that and I got treatment, I went to Pakistan for some few years. So, but I have experience for the first 2 years of that in Afghanistan.
And I noticed that when you attended university at Kabul University, you decided to major in journalism. I'm wondering what made you make that decision?
Thank you so much. From early age, I was passionate about justice and to speak up for others. So because of that, I was thinking that journalism is a important tools to speak out about others, to share their stories, and to shed light about the challenges and be a part of the solution. So I think journalism is a powerful tool to speak up for the people that they were marginalized and be part of the change. That was the reason that I, every time, usually I was thinking to be the voice of others. Because of that, I choose the journalism as a major for me.
And was it during your university years when you first heard of the Taliban, or was it a different time?
No, it was before the first time of the Taliban, however, it was during the civil war in Afghanistan. It was not easy, but the women and girls inside Afghanistan, including me, we, with the hardship of many challenges, despite of many challenges, we pursued our education and higher education to build our country. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that.
And in the late 90s, up like 2001 especially, what did that mean for you as you're working as a journalist and then Taliban comes and starts changing the way the government is run? How did that affect your career?
In 2001, it was great, not just for me, but for all of women and girls. Because when the US and the international community committed for supporting women's rights and human rights inside Afghanistan, and the Taliban government collapsed, during the 20 years was a great time. It was not easy. Again, I can say that it was not easy because the security was not good because the Taliban still were active, and but we had a lot of achievement. When I say we, all women and girls inside Afghanistan. The women and girls, we had great education. The women became active in every section of every aspect of life. They pursued their higher education. They were worked as lawyers, as doctors, engineers, even in high-ranking positions in government, like ministers, deputy ministers, ambassadors, and security forces, as teachers, journalists, and important and more important in civil society. During the 20 years since from 2001 to 2021, a lot of women-led organizations formed, and they were working for women's rights, democracy, gender equality, and women empowerment. That I also working with the biggest network for Afghan women that named Afghan Women's Network. We worked for women's rights, gender equality, and also women empowerment during these 20 years, and we had a lot of achievements. It was not just for a social aspect, but it was regarding the political, social, and economical side. Women had a significant role in development of the country and the economic of our country, and for promoting women's rights and democracy inside Afghanistan.
And can you give an example of some of the efforts y'all made for women's rights in Afghanistan at the time? Can you give some examples of that?
Exactly. We had a lot of achievement, especially women, and Afghan Women's Network has the honor that we jointly worked with women around the country, and in every position that they were in government, they were in parliament, and we as a civil society, we worked to change some laws. As you know, law is the basement of any change. So because of that, we worked to have some changes in our laws, or formed new laws, like we succeeded in 2009. That's the elimination of violence against women law is passed from the president side. However, it was very challenging because in Afghanistan, as a country that they are very restrict for women's rights on, and also religious beliefs, these things. We had a lot of efforts that this law was issued from the president, and also it's banned the forced marriage and also the rape. This law criminalized forced marriage and rape, child marriage, these things. And also under this law, there was some institutions like independent attorney, like violence against women, special attorneys and courts were established, and women find the chance to have access to justice. But when the Taliban came, they hold all these laws. They put all these laws on hold, and right now, more than 80% of women and girls have no access to justice because they put all these laws on hold. Especially, this law was very supportive for women, and also the Constitution of Afghanistan. We succeeded to bring a quota system and constitution in 2004. We had a reform for a new constitution, and it was the women's efforts to bring the quota system on the constitution. and it was about women's participation in parliament. And we made this quota that at least 25% of the parliament members should be women. And when the Taliban took over, at that time, more than 27% of the parliament members were women. So we lost these things. And also, we had more than 3.5 million girls in schools and more than 100,000 in universities. But right now, it is 1,230 days that they are banned from schools beyond 6th grade. And it is 760 days that they are banned from institutes, from universities. And since December 2024, they banned girls from medical institutes as well. So these all restriction is not just in one side of their lives, but they're all sides of their lives. We had 100-year setback when the Taliban took over Afghanistan. It was just an example about the law, but we had a good development in each aspect of life. But we lost everything. We lost everything. Just right now, all women and girls are confined in their homes like a open prison. And that's it. They are not allowed to go to school, to go to university, to work, to go to the park, to go to the even travel alone for more than 42 miles. And they banned them from universities, working in NGOs, working in UN. So everything is restricted for them. So we lost everything. Not just everything, all the things. And they just erased women from the social life.
And how do you think that can be reversed?
I think the first way is resistance, because it is the person. If we want any changes, we should act against that. And I am proud because these 3 years, maybe you have heard from the news that women and girls inside Afghanistan and outside Afghanistan, they are not silenced. However, the Taliban brought more pressure on them. They arrested them, they tortured them, they take them in prisons. But they are not silent. They raise their voices. They have their resistance against all these injustice and restrictions. And also women and girls outside Afghanistan. We are not silent. We are not just to forget the women and girls inside Afghanistan. We have our resistance. But the first way is their resistance, and also beside of that, the community mobilization is very important. They should be united, they should be together, and from any possible way, they should use and raise their voices. The unity among women inside Afghanistan and outside Afghanistan is the most important, because women and girls inside Afghanistan are more under pressure, are under risk. But women and girls outside of Afghanistan have more opportunity to raise their voices and bring their voices from inside Afghanistan to the international community. And beside of that, for the education, it's important. I call to all my sisters and my daughters that they should learn, they should not stop study. They should use their any opportunity like online, hidden classes, hidden schools, everything, but they should learn and study, and they continue their studying. It will be not the same for centuries. It will be changed, but that's enough that they should not give up, and they continue their resistance.
And without education, is that resistance harder to bring together between the women of Afghanistan?
Absolutely. The education is the base of everything, anything you want. Because of that, we are suffering these challenges. And because of that, the Taliban bring much pressure on women's education, because they know that if a woman or a girl be educated, there would be a big changes around the society. Because you heard about that saying that if you send a boy to school, you will educate one person or one individual. But when you send a girl to school, you will educate a whole society. Right now, the Taliban, why focusing on that and restricted more on education, on girls' education? Because they are afraid that women become aware, women become educated, women become informed, and the role of women and girls in society is significant, especially their motherhood role. A mother when be educated, absolutely their children, even boys or girls, will be educated. And the whole society will be educated, aware, and confident, independent, and thoughtful. So they can never keep their power on educated people, on aware people. Because of that, they are bring this much pressure on education, and they banned. Afghanistan is the only country around the world that girls banned from education. No one accepted that 3 years a young girl wake up in the morning without any choice, any hope, any dream, any future. So they know where we should start this country, where can how we can keep our power in this country, just to restrict education for them. So because of that, education is important for everyone, everywhere. It's not just for Afghanistan, around the world. If someone is restricted by education, so what they should do? If today, when everything we see, it's about education. It's because of the education. But when you restrict on education, there is nothing. So education is very important for them. And for this time, we need the international support as well. We need some organization and the international community to support and don't put alone the women and girls inside Afghanistan. They can support them with alternative ways, like online classes, providing some scholarship for them, making some opportunity for mentorship program and scholarship programs. So, and also especially supporting the organization, women-led organization, that they are supporting women's education. So this is a very sensitive time, but it needs multifaceted efforts by themselves, ourselves, and the international community together.
And in 2021, the United States pulls out of Afghanistan. The Taliban comes back very quickly, gaining powers again. You said you were a teacher, you were a journalist. It must have felt like there was a target on your back when that happened. What was going through your mind when you found that the Taliban had taken control of Kabul?
I should say, when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, I worked as a women's human rights activist. And the work that I was doing about women's rights and gender equality, it was totally opposite of the Taliban's ideology. And my work made me a target of them. So when they came to Afghanistan, it was like a bleak future for me, myself, for my daughter, and for my whole nation. It was it meant like a race of all women and girls from society. And honestly, I can't accept that to say that it was just a political change. It was not just a political change. It was the whole nation's lives change. So it means a darkest time for my whole nation and my country.
When was the first time you made this decision that you should leave Afghanistan?
The first day the Taliban took over Afghanistan, as I had the experience and before in their first government and during the last 20 years, we knew that we already had some treatment from them. And on that time, I had just one option, that I should leave the country. And because of the safety of my children's lives, my husband and myself, I made a very hard decision in my life, that I left my all belongs to me, that's including my home, my relatives, and my country. So just because of seeking security for myself and my children, my family, and also for continuing my activism. Because if I was in Afghanistan, they will silence me. Maybe by killing or torturing or imprisoning, but I wanted to continue this activism. So it was the only option to decide to lift everything and just get rid our lives and leave our home and our country.
What were you able to take with you when you left?
It's very interesting. We had a very short time to make this big decision in our life. When Taliban entered to Kabul, I was in office. And everything was normal. We didn't think about leaving our home for some very near space, not just to come like here in US. We normally working at the office. My children were in school and university. My husband were in his office when they took power. And after 2 or 3 hours that we reached to home, we just find out that we should leave everything and we should leave the country. So we had a very short time, and on that time we succeeded to have just one backpack, 2 pair of clothes, our cell phone with us, and nothing else. And that was it.
Were there others with you?
Yes, we are a group of women's leaders in Afghanistan. They were active in Afghanistan. We were together, and we all left together the country.
And where did the plane take y'all? Did you know where you were going to go, or was it just out of the country?
Honestly, we knew that our destination, the last destination, will be United States. But we didn't know that how long will it take and what would be the process to arrive to US. So it was not very clear. And I remember that time was very hard, and I couldn't imagine that what will be the next, because I left everything behind me, and right now I am going to a new country. What will be the next with us, with my children, or everyone? But it was the only option. We didn't have any other way.
And during your whole experience as being a refugee, was there ever a moment of you felt relaxed? Was it always something you're trying to look out for, on edge somehow?
If I say that I never feel calm and relaxed after leaving the country, it's because it was a big trauma that we faced. This urgent change in Afghanistan, and we left everything in one day. And when become a refugee, being a refugee itself is a hard for every human being. Even they make decision that we will left the country, we will go to in this country or that country. But for us, that we didn't know for 1 hour ago that we have to leave the country, it is too much hard. When we were here, since we were in the camp and after the resettlement, up to this time that I am interviewing with you and talking with you, it is not easy, and I didn't feel relaxed. There is no relaxed environment for me as a refugee. I know there is, it is a support, it was a big support for me and my family, and I am glad for that they supported us to came out from the country. But being a refugee, it needs a lot of efforts to settle your life, to start from the scratch, to maintain everything, and you should learn everything from the scratch. The new system, unfamiliar community, language barrier, everything is not, especially for a mother, that she has the responsibility of her children as well. And beside of all of these things, the situation of women and girls inside Afghanistan and in neighboring countries, you believe me that every day since I left the country, we are in contact with these women and girls, that how they are suffering the hardest time inside Afghanistan and in the neighboring country like Pakistan, Iran, everywhere. So, and also we are doing advocacy for them. And when we see the situation of girls and women inside Afghanistan, there is no any comfortable time to say that, so right now you should relax. So, but hopefully in the future.
And of these Afghan refugees, how many of them know English in that?
Very less, because inside Afghanistan, when we were in Afghanistan, the system, school system is not in English. It is all about our national language. And we just study English as an international language or a foreign language after 7th grade in schools, and it's not very, people don't take it very strict to learn more and be fluent in English. But some of the women that they were know English and they learn English, it's because of these last 20 years that they work with the international staff and organization. Because of that, they learn, and also a little bit the private universities and schools that they formed inside Afghanistan, they studied in English. So because of that, it was not too much people to know English. I interviewed with women in my RAC project, and also I created a community, an Afghan woman community in North Texas, that there is more than 50 women from Afghanistan and North Texas and North Dallas and the DFW area. All of them are talking about the language barrier. They have good experience, they had good professional background, but just because of the language, they are not able to find a job as per their background and knowledge and education. And they are, the elders are very upset that because they don't have anyone to talk with, to go to the shopping and know some things. So language is always a barrier for refugees, and it's for Afghan women and girls as well.
And can you talk a little bit about your experiences, like your projects you're working on now? There's the RUG project you mentioned earlier. Are there other things you're working on?
Thank you so much. I was working for the RAC project with the support of University of Texas at Arlington. And we were a team, a professional team from University of Texas at Arlington. It is an Afghan woman oral history under the name of Resilience, Unity, and Guide. That it's named the RAC project. It is. I interviewed with 18 women from around the world that they all were evacuated from Afghanistan after 2021, and they have the same experience, that how they left the country, how they lost their achievement, their everything, and now as a refugee, how they are struggling with the new countries, new language, new systems, these things, and they share their stories, that what is their challenges, what's the how they are continuing their work here, I mean activism, and what is the situation of them. And beside of that, I worked as a fellow in Global Wise for Texas International Education Consortium for 5 months, and during this fellowship, I went to universities and participated to classes, provide information about the women's rights, human rights, women and girls situation inside Afghanistan, and gender equality, these things. Not just in UTA, but universities around Texas, online or in person, ongoing. And beside of that, I had a mentorship for girls inside Afghanistan. And it was very temporary. It was very short time, but it was good that I was connecting with girls inside Afghanistan.
Mashal, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much.